Well, first and foremost, congratulations on Robodoc. I watched the first 4 episodes and completely blown away. I'm a massive fan. Watched it thinking I kind of knew most things, and then kind of came away knowing a hell of a lot more. Now that it's done, do you guys feel a kind of sense of relief, I suppose?
I think once we get some feedback, I think that's the thing. It's sort of, at the minute, it's like the feedback's just starting, but I think once we start getting feedback and people tell us that they either love it or they, whatever, that'd just be nice. I think at the minute we've been so close to it for so long, it's sort of surreal that it's about to be unleashed.
It's been such a long journey of 7 years, or nearly probably 8 years already for us, obviously with pre-production. It's just a bit strange that, even like today we were doing some stuff, or I think yesterday, regards to some artwork and stuff like that. And it's like it's kind of weird, but it's actually happening. And it's going to be out there next week. Oh, no, next week. Wednesday.
Like I've been rehearsing these kind of conversations since 2017. Talking about it in the past tense. And here we are in 2023 going, fuck, I forgot what I rehearsed now.
Well, we've been chatting about it since 2017. I've been kind of following it since. It's also kind of finally here. What was your reaction when you guys watched it from start to finish? What was almost the kind of final thing?
I remember watching it at Eastwood's house, kind of like, not saying, what's the word, not even a rough cut. It was obviously wasn't the final cut we've got now, but it was like everything put together with Weller-ing. Because I know we'd waited a long time to get Weller, and Eastwood had already edited the doc without Weller using archive, and we went to his house to watch it. We watched it the whole 4 hours, I think it was, or 4.5, whatever it was. It just went so fast. And kind of like all that stress and kind of like and tears and tantrums disappeared really when we saw it on the screen, really. So it's kind of like, I mean, it's probably harder for Eastwood and Chris, who have been on it, and literally, particularly Eastwood, watching it every single second of the day. It's easy for me just to pop in and to see a little bit of it and then be amazed by it. I remember when we was getting the legals coming for a message, Eastwood going, "Oh, that's 1 episode down, legal, well done. Episode 2, legal, well done." So it's just been amazing, really, to see it together.
I think Eastwood is at the point there he's like, I'm fed up with this documentary.
No. This is the thing. Like I'm really prideful. Like I'm a bit arrogant. I'm chuffed with it. I love it. It's more just when the guys watched it, I remember asking them like, is it working? Because this is the thing. Like, I obviously think it works, but then it's like Chris is the super fan too, and I'm like, are you engaged? And he was like, mate, it's like everybody was just being super. I think that's just because they were around at my house and they worried that I was going to do something. But they were all, it's. I'm not sick of it in the slightest. I tend to watch bits of it like every day, which sounds probably sad. The thing is, I love the soundtrack, and the soundtrack is a big part of why I think it's so fun to sort of sit back and relax and enjoy it, because it's pulsing, it's, we're not hitting everybody over the head with synthwave at all times, but like those tracks definitely do stuff to it. And then Sean Hennessy's work with the orchestral to make it, add that RoboCop flavor. It's just I put it on off and just like in the background, I go running to it on with just like the sound, because I absolutely love the music that's involved. It's
quite funny, obviously, you guys talk about the the infamous production of RoboCop and how kind of chaotic it was. What was the production of the documentary like for you guys? Any drama? Have you guys fallen out numerous times over?
I'm not answering that one because I don't want to take it to tribunal.
I think the shoot was awesome, wasn't it? The shoot, we had such a buzz about it. We talked about this before, like we had actors, cast and crew that had not met for years and come and mingled, and like we sort of brought everybody together. Gary and Mike, our producers, brought everybody together, and that was so fun for us to be a part of it, to just witness like Ed Neumeyer meeting FD Namath for the first time in years, and us showing them bits and pieces on our phones and showing them all the artwork and stuff. And so the shoot was fine. It was afterwards when I'm there chugging away trying to get it edited, and we're all juggling. This is the thing, like I don't know how many people know this, but like this wasn't like a full-time. If it was a full-time thing, it would have been done in like a year. Like the fact that we're all juggling jobs, and I mean, we had to have patience as well because we did want to get Weller, so there was that aspect too. I'll throw it to Chris because I'm talking a lot, but yeah, it was more after the fact. The shoot was awesome. It was after the fact.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like, to be fair, the shoot was great. It was long. And it was it's just gone through so many phases. I always say this. We started off when we went over to the States. for production. We had about 16 people confirmed, and the plan was always to do a deep dive, but just kind of make it 2 hours, something like that. Go further than any EPK or documentaries done before. By the time we got back from that trip, we had 60 people filmed, and that's when we were like, oh, this is a bit bigger than we thought. And then the bug just kind of set in, and I suppose it was inevitable that it would wind up that we had everything covered. But once we realized we had it like scene by scene, it just grew and grew. And it was a wave we all had to ride and kind of accept and go, okay, this is getting bigger. We can't get Weller. Okay, we'll just hang fire on that and hope for the best and everything like that. And at times when it looked like it wasn't going to happen at all, we were happy with what we've got. And then it was kind of like the timings of getting it out and everything. I naively, I think I can confirm now they don't exist anymore. I had passwords on my computer and phones back in the day, like Robodoc 17, like, haha, the year it comes out. And here we are in 2023. And we've been put through the ringer, in particular Eastwood with the edit of we've got to get it out. The fans have been chasing, understandably. But it's trying to hopefully paint a picture of, like, as Eastwood said, this isn't our full-time job. And it's in that respect, it's been very, very stressful. But it's, and even right to the last minute of actually getting things over the line, deadlines for QC and legal and everything has not been a walk in the park. So I think we're all just about gradually coming down from this and we can start to enjoy it. But again, as Eastwood said, I find myself, anytime family members are over, like, do you want to watch an episode of Robodoc? And yeah, everyone's feedback's just been amazing, and I truly believe, like, it, as long as it's taken, it shows. It really does show.
Yeah, without a doubt, like the passion, you can see it from the first episode. That you guys are true fans and you put a lot of kind of love into it. Did that, I suppose, add a sort of pressure? Big projects, you guys have done them before. The Robert Englund stuff, the story of it. So big projects are not a kind of new thing to you guys, but this is different. This is a different monster, I suppose.
I think because of how obsessive. Chris, I'm talking too much. You talk.
No, it's fine, mate. No, I suppose, yeah. Going back on what I said before about the format and it being scene by scene and watching it just sort of grow into this behemoth. And at times, I think for me personally, I kind of may have felt like, oh, fuck, have we bitten off more than we could chew? And like, oh God, what have we committed ourselves to? But in all honesty, I've forgotten what the question is now, so I've ruined that one. But in terms of the pressure, yeah, it's my number one film, and we wanted to do something that's good. I doubt I will ever want to put this much time or anyone's time through for anything else. If it was going to be one film, it was going to be RoboCop. So, you had to just put in that extra couple notches just to kind of get over the line. So, yeah, it was worth it.
I was just going to say, like, we had sort of strict and high standards because Chris and I are in particular like obsessed with RoboCop. So we were sort of going, if we've seen everything before we even started to shoot it. So we were sort of like, what can we get here? So when we heard something that we didn't know, we thought chances are the majority of RoboCop fans aren't going to know this either. So this is like gold to it, to the RoboCop community. Yeah. And then it's just making sure that the documentary is well-rounded enough so it's not just made for those 25 obsessive RoboCop fans on the planet. It's like made for super fans are going to get a kick out of it and learn stuff, but it's also entertaining and there for just your average movie fan, because we want as many people to watch this.
I think that comes through. I think it's such an easy watch. Even if you're not a kind of die-hard fan, if you sit down and watch it, you're going to take it and you're going to enjoy it. And I know that's also going to be one of the kind of biggest challenges, with something as detailed as this. What I quite liked was there was a part where Nancy Allen was talking about how fans would come up to her and say, "Oh, watch RoboCop when I was 7, watch RoboCop when I was 8." I was kind of one of those fans. I got RoboCop 2 on video for my 8th birthday. When did you guys kind of first get introduced to RoboCop and watch it?
Do it chronologically. Who was first? Eastwood, you were 3.
I was 3 years. It's funny that you mentioned that, Tom, because the pictures that we cut to in the doc is myself and Chris. So those kids are us. When I was 3 when I saw it, a truncated version, and then Chris was 6. His mum edited him a version too. Far too young, but yeah, the film was so layered that as we grew up with it, we saw different things, and that's the thing, getting in there early too when you're at that impressionable age and everything sticks with you and lingers, and just remember the violence and the suit and just like how dark and sort of gritty it felt, and it was just so unique. But as a kid, it was just like nothing you'd ever seen. Literally, it was amazing.
I think you were influenced, weren't you, Gary? Something with sherbet dip.
Yeah, I just remember watching it with my friend Ben when I was about 9 years old, and for some reason we tried to reenact the scene with the bitches with no bitches, and we snorted sherbet dip. So I know how films influence children, but yes, I've not become a cokehead, so I'm quite lucky, really. But that's my earliest memory of RoboCop is sniffing sherbet dip, basically.
Nostrils are still singing.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing with, I mean, it's one of the things, I mean, if you go like right back to the very start, I think something Gary mocked up poster wise was like, you know, and you see it all the time now with these retrospectives, but it was like a reverse shot of a kid's head watching a TV with its RoboCop figures on top. And it's one of the angles I definitely wanted to cover in this, because I think like you as a fan as well, you know, we all know it. And for me personally, I do feel there was like a little chunk of films that all of us saw at the right time, you know, in that late 80s, early 90s and ITV on a Saturday night. But RoboCop always seems to be the one I think that majority of people were like, oh, I watched that when I was a kid. I had a friend sneak in his double VHS of 1 and 2 to me in his lunchbox, and I had to sneak it back home so I could see all the bits that my mum had cut out and see 2, which was a complete quest for me as well for years. And it's one of the things I wanted to make sure was covered in the documentary. And I think that's the thing with the format of these docs. In particular, we struggled with Pennywise more so. But you've got to think, right, hang on, is this a making of? Is this a retrospective? And I think ultimately what Eastwood cut together and what we've got is just such a nice sort of, you know, episode one's primarily the pre-production. There's lots to unpack from that. You've got the scene by scene, and then getting into that legacy. And it's just nice to be able to sort of say, hey, look, it wasn't just you that had a deprived childhood. It was us too.
Talking about, you know, editing and the aesthetics of it, it looks great. Obviously, Eastwood's damp hand. How would you sum up the editing experience for this? And did you pretty much have a good idea from the start on how you wanted it to look?
We had discussions about it feeling of that era, because that's the thing. So I know Chris works in After Effects. I'm well versed in the Adobe suite. So it was like, yeah, we could do a load of 3D and we could do a load of really cool parallaxing. So like it was the whole idea, and it's the same with the grade. It's the same with how we set up the interviews and why we did everything in green screen. We knew that we wanted it to not be the interviews and then the film. We wanted it to feel sort of like cohesive and of that sort of like world, if we could, even with like adding grain on top of like the interviewees and make sure the grain's the exact same size as the grain in the film, all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it was like limiting myself to go, okay, that's cool, but I could have gone to town with like all sorts of stuff, but it would have just been like distracting and too much. So it was like making sure that it felt within that world, I think. And that was so fun, like being able to recreate like the targets and do my best to try and recreate the font and even trying to match the glow to like the pixels. And that's why it took 7 years, because I was doing all the glow. But that sort of stuff was fun. It was like an absolute joy. It was more just the sheer volume of it. This is the thing. We've had a fantastic team, but it's primarily been a team of like 5-6 people. And then we've had some people come on to help us with like animations. My pals sort of Matt and Kieran came on to help with some of the animations. I had a friend Richard who came on and did help me with some of the compositing, because the green screen for doing that much green screen for 65 people on an iMac rendering out like would literally take weeks if you were to tally it all up. So but primarily it was a small team, so the project got bigger but the team never really got any bigger. So, you know, luckily Gary didn't kill me, and we're here now, it's out. But the reason why it took a long time was because it was a guy up in Yorkshire having to render it all off on one machine pretty much.
Doesn't help with some of the interviews as well. It was our first stab at green screen, so we had the DP over in the main studio. But then by the time we got to I was going to say Houston, then Dallas and New York, we had these cheap ass soft boxes I bought, which I don't think were cut out for green screen or blue screen photography. And like, you know, in Dallas in particular, I remember probably say this now, but the hotel we stayed in, which luckily I don't remember the name, it was literally the case of unscrew the beds, flip them over, and just do it like really guerrilla, you know. And honestly, I mean, if you were to like pull the shot back, you know, from where the interviewee is, you'd be astonished as to what the setup was, like Scotch tape and chewing gum.
I remember we literally put, didn't we, do not disturb outside for like the full week because we didn't want anyone coming into the hotel because we would have been booted out because we literally had things upside down. The bed was on all four, like on the wall, because we needed enough space to get the camera and the distance to have some sort of like medium shot and then a close up. But yeah, I remember that, and Adam literally putting the drawing pits up for the blue screen. But yeah, like Chris said, if you were to just pan back, it would have just looked absolutely horrific.
I mean, it looked like Reagan had a go on it in The Exorcist. You know, it was the aftermath of Exorcist 1, basically.
And of course, you know, the kind of big drama on this, no doubt, is, you know, Peter Weller. You guys were going to, you know, push ahead using the archive, you know, footage and audio, which I thought was great anyway. What, you know, describe that moment you get the call or the email, you know, from Peter Weller's people saying that he's going to be coming on board, that he's interested in doing it.
Go on, Gary.
It was a 5-year email, basically. So it was yeah, I mean, it was really weird for us because he was always very polite to us. I managed to get hold of his private email. I think it was probably from somebody from the cast and crew. I won't mention their names publicly, but we had a lot of the crew and the original cast helping us, trying to get Weller, because obviously he's still friendly with him. But they had tried and he said no. And I think when we first started, he wasn't really doing conventions at all. It was only really later on over the year that he started doing cons. So we were trying, and I managed to get a hold of his email, and he was always very professional, polite, quite courteous to me. And then it basically happened upon that we went to the lads, and not myself, but the lads were invited to the what's it called, for Love of Sci-Fi in Manchester, where Weller was obviously attending to do the Q&A. And it was really then that we ambushed him at the behind the scenes of that. After the Q&A, Eastwood ran up to him, and we all did. Reese went up to him and said, you know, we're from Robodoc, and basically he was a little bit shocked. But then it kind of started that process thing. He did say to us there and then, get me in this doc and make it work, and we made it work. So we dealt with his agent, a lot of contracts going back and forth. But yeah, when it finally happened, I mean, I didn't think it was going to happen, even though we had the contract, until the second he sat down in front of that camera. And my lads obviously were doing it remotely from the UK, and obviously he was in LA. Until they messaged me after and said they'd got him and sent me some stills, I still didn't think it was going to happen. So yeah, it was just surreal again. Like, this whole project has been surreal, and I think we can make our own documentary about the making of Robodoc. It'd be very interesting.
You could do that as a kind of Spinal Tap type.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone would believe what happened to us over the last 6 or 7 years, but I think it just shows. We said yesterday, it just shows that persistent pays off. You know, being persistent pays off, because we tried, and we were told we'd never get him, and we got him. You know, and we've tried before on other projects, and it hasn't been successful on some other stuff. But I think we always knew that he'd probably come around eventually. I think we probably kind of knew that, because he's quite a character. Just getting him in the right place, right time, right mood, and I think we did. So.
And I need to ask as well, you guys obviously cover RoboCop 2, RoboCop 3, the TV series. Did you find a kind of new appreciation for those, you know, after working on this? And, you know, have you quite forgiven, you know, production for, you know, making RoboCop fly in the third film?
I think it was interesting. So we got RoboCop 2 and 3 due to come. So they'll be their own documentaries, not as extensive as this, that's for sure. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, like as I said, the original intention was just to do one. We even said on the original Kickstarter video, we'd like to cover a little bit of 2 and 3. And then when you come back, and I think in total we got around 100 people from all 3 films in the series. It was more than we bargained for. But actually, you know, doing them, I think I'll always look at the whole franchise through rose-tinted glasses. 3 was the one I was allowed to watch. I had my mum rent it for me every weekend, every Saturday, to the point when she was like, well, I've probably spent 50 quid renting it. You might as well own a copy now. Is it how I remember it as a 5-year-old, 6-year-old? Nah, not quite. But I think what's endearing and nice, though, is I think no matter what the film, it's still interesting to hear the stories and the rationale behind it. And I think, to be honest, what we got out of everyone, I think the biggest thing I've got to say, certainly watching the doc as a whole as well, what gets me is, and someone's said it the other day, but it's the performances of everyone. I really can't think of anyone who gave us a bland interview across the whole franchise. And so they really opened up. And, you know, they were really honest. And in particular, Wello as well. We were quite astonished by Eastwood and I, where we kind of like goaded ourselves like, oh, should we ask him about, you know, being a bit of a dick on set? Because that's what other people said. And he did. He came back with that. You know, he's like, well, you try wearing that suit. So going back to the sequel, so yeah, I think it's great. We've got some really, really nice, honest accounts. And at the end of the day, you know, one of the best documentaries out there is about the making of Troll 2. I mean, it's a very unique format, but there's still interest in seeing it. So I think hopefully people will look at it with a bit more appreciative eyes. Might not change their position on him, but might say, hey, look, you tried. We understand the circumstances behind what ended up coming out.
And just one final question. You know, when can we expect a UK release, Blu-ray, maybe 4K in the pipeline?
Yeah, I've probably got in trouble the other day because I gave too much information on the previous podcast. But we are in the process. We've already obviously negotiated a deal, and it has been publicised that Kaleidoscope are releasing in the UK. We're just waiting for confirmation. Really, Eastwood was working on the artwork yesterday, wasn't it, for the cover? So with them. So I think it's going to be hopefully before the end of the year. When they did Pennywise, it actually came out over here before the US. So I can't see it being too long, especially now that Eastwood's confirmed the artwork. I'm hoping to get an announcement pretty quick. And that's going to be a digital release and a physical release as well.
I think what we can say, and unless Gary's going to tell me off, is that we've got an hour of bonus features.
Yeah.
So in total, it's 20 minutes shy of 6 hours of RoboCop content.
Just the first film.
Just the first film.
And that excludes the God knows how long.
And trust me, if somebody said to me we needed another hour, we could do it, and it wouldn't just be cutting room floor stuff. We've got that much stuff because the interviewees were sensational.
And as you've watched it now yourself, and I want to make it very clear, as much as I think it's great some docs do this, and I think it's great if they do, we don't use super fans. We use the cast and crew of the actual film who were there during the making. You know, and I think that's really important because I think a lot of docs now have to, you know, rely on obviously, you know, fans and reviewers to be involved. We didn't need to do that because we had 100 people. So it's testament to people obviously who were part of that production who wanted to come back and talk about it.
I think I saw a comment the other day, someone going like, "Oh, it's another documentary with super fan interviews," and I was just there going, "No,
it's not."
So yeah.
Well, guys, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Time, you know, best luck with the documentary when it comes out, and yeah, I'll definitely be buying it.
No, thanks so much, Tom.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys.
Hey, you guys.
Hey you guys.
Hey, that's what they all say.
Hey you guys.
Hey, you guys.